We're two hitchhikers. We met while hiking Mount Baldy with mutual friends, wasted no time, got engaged on a frozen alpine lake, got hitched, and have been adventuring together since. We're embarking on a new adventure of living big in a tiny home. Let's see how this goes.
Adventure awaits.
Good morning. It is a beautiful overcast morning. Yesterday was quite hot, and this morning I'm able to run the sprinklers, as you can see, and it's wetting down this patch here. So what I did yesterday with this patch, I know it doesn't look like much, but this is going to be a vegetable garden of sorts. Now, we're not necessarily expecting a great harvest by any means, but what we're trying to do is reintroduce some organic material here into the pasture that just has not been growing for a very long time. So this pasture was initially cleared to graze animals on it. So when you have the animals on it, you've got the cycle, right, of the manure, of them eating the young shoots and everything like that, but it hasn't happened in quite a few years. What we're trying to do here is, so we have the good soil according to our neighbors. However, it does lack nitrogen, and to get nitrogen back in, we need to introduce some organic matter. So what I'm going to be planting here is what's known as the three sisters. So it's corn, squash, and beans. Now, this is a staple in New Mexico. I had no idea that this was like a companion crop concept. And one typical way to do it is to do it in mounds, where you have the corn stalk going straight up, and then you have the squash at the bottom, and then the beans, depending on if it's a bush bean or a vine pole type bean, it will climb up the stalk. But sometimes those beans can overwhelm the corn stalk, and I don't know what kind of pinto beans that I have, so I don't want to overwhelm the corn stalk, assuming it grows. So we're gonna do rows. What we're gonna do here is this back end, come on, Vanna. Yeah, that's gonna be the corn. And then the beans are gonna be over there, that way. And then this here is just a border. That way we make sure that we don't run over any of the crop area. So I did this work yesterday. It was backbreaking, to say the least. And I need to go get a little bit of stuff to amend the soil, just a little bit more to prep it for the planting. So gonna go do that, come back here and get started on the planting. So this is just some organic zucchini, and these are gonna go here on this mound, and they eventually will need a lot of space. So I'm gonna have to build a few other mounds here behind this, but I wanna get this one started and see how it goes. All right, so the corn, these are the corn seeds. I don't know if you can see it, hopefully you can. So this is sweet corn, and initially I was just gonna do 2 long rows of corn because I just knew that corn had to be placed in rows. But because it is a self-pollinator, ideally you wanna have at least 4 rows of corn, and they need a lot of spacing in between them. So it's about a foot in between each row, like 10 to 12 inches. And the information that I've been finding as far as the spacing of each seed varies between 4 inches and 10 inches. So I'm just gonna meet in the middle and go around 8 inches in between. Now, the reason that they have to be placed in rows and in specific amounts of distance from each other is because they're self-pollinating. And when the corn silk develops, the pollen is actually on that corn silk. Sprinkler. So the wind will blow and it'll take the pollen from one of the corn stalks to the other. So it's best if they're in a group of rows and it's in a consistent pattern. And that's how you ideally will get the most yield. So I'm gonna try it, we'll see what happens. Now, we do have a lot of deer, we have the gophers, so whether we get an actual crop, I don't know. But we're going to try this anyway. We gotta start somewhere, and well, this little plot is it. So I'm just dropping these in at about 1.5 inches deep, and then I will gently cover them up with a little bit more soil. Now, each stalk is supposed to give a return of 2 ears of corn. All right. As you can see, I have soaked pinto beans here. So I soaked some pinto beans last night. The majority of those will be for dinner this evening. But these ones are actually going to go in the ground. So these are dried pinto beans, and the advice was to go ahead and soak them overnight. I don't need to soak them until the point of sprouting, just enough to kind of wake them up from dormancy, essentially. Now, if you've ever looked at a pinto bean, sorry, excuse the nails, I'm gardening barehanded here. I don't like wearing gloves. So I don't know if this is going to focus, but that little dot at the bottom, that's the eye. So that is where the root will come out of. Wait, or do I have it backwards? Yes, that's where the root is going to come out of. So it is important which direction you place it in. Well, I guess it's not important. It'll just help it to sprout faster when you do it the correct way. So yeah, let's get to this. And the spacing is going to be very similar to the corn spacing. Here goes nothing. All right, we have the seeds planted, and we have the zucchini here, so the squash is there. We have the corn here in this section, and then on the other side of that stick are the pinto beans. So that stick is my demarcation line for the time being. We are going to build a trellis system. Still have to do a little bit more research of exactly what that looks like, because this is a very high wind area. We have to be cognizant of the type of system that we build. So likely it'll be a three-dimensional structure. I am reading that the teepee style ones are pretty strong. We just have to make sure to stake it pretty deep into the ground. But right now I'm gonna head over to the potato patch in the raised garden bed, because they're starting to flower, and flowering signifies that tubers are developing underneath the soil. So as you can see here, there's some blooms, and this is an indication that the tubers have started to form underneath. So they're still quite small, but that is a sure sign that it's time to definitely feed the potatoes at this point. So what we have here, obviously we moved the garden bed from when we first made it, but what we have here in the end, these are the white potatoes, and then we have the red potatoes in the center, and then the russet potatoes. And they seem to be going in order of actual development. So yes, my hands are quite lovely right now. But they have been going now for, I think, close to 2 months. And it is insane how fast they grow. Literally insane. I will do a couple things different next season, but this has been a good start to trying this out. They're a little overcrowded, and it is a bit difficult to feed them or add more soil now that they're bushier with this high wall. Now, the wall is necessary because of our high winds, so next year we'll just have to come up with something different, maybe a wall that is somewhat removable. We'll see. But either way, I'm just happy that so far so good. Pests and bugs have not really been an issue at this point yet. We have some herbs and crops nearby that are hopefully just deterrents to pests, and so far it's working. You never know. Nature might decide to pay us a visit tomorrow and all this might be gone. But so far, really, really happy. Well, as I was on the tractor today, it decided to act funny and stop working.
Tasha broke it. There are little small components inside that jiggled their way out, and I found 2 of the 3 components. So hopefully we can still have this running with 2 out of the 3 components.
So did I break it?
Technically you did, because you were sitting on the machine while it was running. But if I was sitting on the machine while it was running, I would have broke it. It's just how it is.
So it's a technicality.
Technicality.
Break a sprinkler head and a tractor.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not cut out for this farm thing.
Oh, you're cut out for it.
Here it goes. All right, so here is the riser for the sprinkler that I broke when I was going over it with the tractor. And these are all the pieces that came off. Fortunately, it was just the top portion of it and none of the pipe itself was damaged. Now, I just came back. I had to go to an irrigation supply store. So I got a new fitting for the top, and I think the goal is to actually install the sprinkler itself so we can turn the water on, at least on this part here. This part is pretty. Hey, sweetie. Okay, so I got the cam lock fitting on there. I keep wanting to say camshaft. And I tightened it with your big wrench. I cannot go any tighter. You probably can go a tiny bit more once you get home.
No. Like, that doesn't require that much.
Oh, okay.
So the fact that you were able to get it on there pretty good, that's good.
Okay. So this piece here, that's what was in the bucket.
Yep.
So you want me to just drop this in?
Yep.
Okay. Like that?
Upside down.
I love you, babe.
Like this. Since you laughed, this must be it.
Yes.
So now I lock these down.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
There you go.
That's on? That's it?
That's it.
Oh, that wasn't rocket science. Cool.
Apparently was, because you installed it upside down.
What? I thought I was missing the other piece that looks like a bird's head. So that's why I was like, is this correct? So, all right. So now you want me to test the water? Turn the sprinklers on?
Yep.
All righty. All right, making sure the pump is on correctly. Now I'm going to go test to make sure that the sprinkler is all running as it's supposed to. Well, it's working. Whether or not it's working correctly, we have yet to see. It just started pressurizing, and I mean, yeah, this is the first time I'm doing this, but so far so good. While this week lacked excitement with infrastructure and building, we now got the property to a place where we feel a bit more comfortable with regard to land management. It's our responsibility to care for and foster its true potential. There's a delicate balance of being comfortable here and letting nature be nature. We do have plans for the future here, and we get very excited for all of the possibilities, but every step requires time and focus and a willingness to be flexible to whatever comes our way. At least we know our property is much more fire safe. The pasture took us a few days to mow down. We are leaving the cuttings as ground cover to keep more moisture in the soil. We left some meadow grasses and flowers to encourage the bees, birds, and bugs to do what they do best. We do plan to run a few more sprinkler heads to encourage more local grass growth. Oh, and potatoes! If all goes well, we should be able to think about harvesting in August? Maybe? It's been a long time coming, but Ruben is finally able to start focusing on building the solar battery system. Stay tuned for those updates. We're sort of in the middle of everything right now, but somehow it's all falling into place, and we thank God for our blessings daily. Thank you for following along on our crazy, we don't know what we're doing journey of building a tiny home on a property we are figuring out how to manage. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next Monday.